Hello there, you're listening to Are You Convinced?
That's right. You are listening to Are You Convinced? Welcome to another episode. How you doing, Damon?
I'm ecstatic. That took nearly an hour of our lives to get Siri to cooperate just to introduce the show.
And she couldn't even pronounce the title correctly. But
Wrong emphasis on a different syllable, I think was the problem there with Siri. Huh, wow.
it was great in theory, though. But no, we got Siri to introduce this episode because this week we're talking about emerging technologies.
And I've decided after that little episode that I'm not so worried about AI anymore, James.
Because that was a fear of yours, I think. You're very afraid of what the future might hold in terms of artificial intelligence.
Well, we've all seen Terminator.
Yes.
And we've all seen Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
And some of us have seen 3 and Salvation and Genesis.
Which was the worst?
Genesis.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
Salvation was different. It might not have been great. It was just...
That's my standpoint. Whenever anyone bags Salvation, I go, at least they did something different.
Yeah.
Whereas Genesis...
And it was good to see. It was something you wanted to see.
It was.
Yeah.
It was.
Whereas you didn't want to go back and see the same original story sort of retread in a weird way and everything. It was terrible.
Do you know what I wanted from a Terminator movie?
What's that?
Something new and emerging. See what I did there?
Well, like new and emerging technology.
Yay! Tie-ins.
But yeah, artificial intelligence is obviously a big one. It's really, I think it's where the future is headed, is we're just going to have robots do everything for us.
Yeah, I mean, and that's good and bad. What I'm going to discuss today does link heavily into that, and I think it's on the more benign level of that. There's still drawbacks to it that I'll talk about, but I do just have this silly little sci-fi thing of at what point are we making the decisions? At what point is AI making the decisions? I'm not worried about nuclear war. I'm not really silly, but I don't know what I'm trying to say. It just scares me.
I think part of their developing in the field of AI is they're asking these questions. How do we deal with the potential that they could get smart enough and decide that they need to eliminate us?
Really simple. Baseball bat to the servers.
Yeah.
Just smash the crap out of its servers.
But I mean, if they get really clever, the fear is that they could get so smart that they could come up with a way to defend themselves that we just couldn't overcome.
Well, against baseball bats?
Yeah, essentially.
Maybe a bigger baseball bat.
The idea that they could, store themselves somewhere else. They could build something that protects themselves. Obviously, they could build a whole army of Terminators standing out the front of this massive server room that is Skynet.
All of them holding baseball bats.
Yes, see? But, I mean, people are talking, the development of AI. They discuss things like whether they're making these things look so real and it's creepy.
It is.
But whether we don't make them look just weird enough that we can always tell. What is the idea?
There's a term for that, isn't it? Is it the uncanny valley? When we know something looks good enough to be familiar, but we know it's just off. It's just not quite perfect.
Yeah, and I think that's something they want to incorporate. So that we'll always know, because otherwise, essentially, we could have AI emerged within our society without having any idea who's who and what's what, and it's going to bring up a whole lot of questions of artificial intelligence, the rights of robots, and
Yeah, and then we're in that terrible movie I, Robot.
Yeah,
which I don't want to be in. Will Smith didn't want to be in that movie. I don't know why we would want to be. I was going to bring up to you, was it Isaac Asimov?
Yeah, the 3 laws is what you're getting to. Yeah.
Is that a real thing?
That's something I think that they think about for sure. Is programming in these 3 laws of robotics.
Because I don't know anything about Isaac Asimov at all. I just know his name and I know the 3 rules. So I'm not sure if this is something he proposed or did he write about this.
Honestly, I don't know the full story myself.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Hey Siri.
This isn't going
well. This is not what...
Hey Siri.
Who is Isaac Asimov?
No, Siri's just not cooperating. So clearly we don't have anything to worry about for the time being.
No.
But, I mean, it's certainly an interesting field that robots could be just doing essentially everything for us.
Absolutely. Well,
where does that leave us, essentially? Like, are we going to go to work anymore?
I'm really interested in that, and I will bring that up in my topic.
Okay,
I promise you.
It's an interesting theory if we're going to develop these robots, and it's been an issue in technological progress through centuries.
Yeah.
Is that technology comes along, makes life easier, puts a whole lot of people out of work. People have to find new jobs. So essentially, they're talking now these days. Kids going to school need to be learning coding.
Absolutely.
Because in 10 years. Those are the jobs.
As a second language, as opposed to learning, I learned German, Japanese, Indonesian. Can't speak any of them.
Yeah.
I'd rather be able to do coding.
Yeah.
Over
a language that you don't.
Sprechen Sie Deutsch? Nein, mein Deutsch nicht prima. That's all I remember of German. I'd rather be able to write in JavaScript than know that. Yeah. I don't remember any Indonesian. I'd much rather know how to code.
How to do something useful. In the way we're going, that's just going to be the jobs is going to be programming.
It will be the norm, absolutely. We were talking before we started recording about this idea of smart homes.
Yes, like all this technology is taking off just recently. You've got like your Google Home. You've obviously got Siri on your phone. Most Microsoft devices have Cortana.
Yes.
Amazon's developed Alexa, again very similar to the Google Home. These devices, they're a form of AI. Like they're not AI, but they're a form of basic intelligence that understands, interprets what you're saying, and does various activities around your home, plays music, turns on the lights, whatever it might be.
But when we say AI, they are programmed just to do specific tasks.
Yeah.
They're not programmed to come up with their own conclusions or their own tasks.
No, exactly right. Yeah, they're just programmed to sort of interpret what you're saying, figure out the command, and issue it.
That's right.
Essentially.
Which I see a lot of benefits there for people living with physical disabilities, especially.
For sure.
Yeah, if you're blind, if you're deaf, if you're immobile in some way, if you're in a wheelchair, if you're quad or paraplegic, I get huge benefits in being able to talk to your house and let it know what's going on.
Yeah.
I would ask Siri what she thinks about smart homes, but I'm worried she's not going to respond. We haven't had much luck with Siri.
You can see that, yes, these things aren't entirely foolproof.
No.
They do have their problems.
As demonstrated by the near half an hour of you and I shouting at Siri, trying to get that introduction sorted.
And yeah, so these smart homes, everything's all connected. You've got your fridges with built-in cameras and Bluetooth and all that. Everything's got some sort of computer processor in it these days.
Yeah.
And it leads to this issue where homes can be hacked because everything's got these processors in them. They're all connected to your Wi-Fi. If somebody can get onto your Wi-Fi, they can get into everything. They can turn off your lights. They can get into if you've got security cameras. They can tap into the feeds. They could mess with your fridge because that's just a fun thing to do.
Immediately, what I thought about, I could lock your fridge from you. Yeah, that's great.
So. The idea, people just don't think that these things need protecting, but it's obviously still an issue. Like you think like a computer, you don't want somebody accessing your computer.
No, it's basic security, isn't it? Yeah.
But you don't stop to think, I don't want somebody to access my fridge.
No, you don't, because that's never been an issue in the past. I'm just caught up with this idea of you getting up late in the night to get a tasty snack from the fridge, and me on my laptop just going, oh, no, you don't, James, keystrokes.
I'm going to have to change the Wi-Fi password when you leave.
Why doesn't my fridge open? Oh, the lights are going on and off again. Oh, no. Hey, Siri, what's going on with the lights? And then it doesn't give you an answer. Actually, we did change. Siri now calls you Butthead.
No, we changed it back. But yeah, we did.
Disappointing.
We're messing around with the nickname feature. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of cool technology that's coming out that certainly makes life easier.
Here in Adelaide, we've got a very interesting one with a certain man called Elon Musk.
Yes, so he was here just last week. I think it was the end of September. He was in Adelaide for the 2017 International Astronautical Congress.
Is that what he's here for?
That was a really International Astronautical Congress. That's
you did
really
well.
hard to say.
You did well.
So he came, obviously, he has Tesla, he has SpaceX. SpaceX obviously being the focus here. He talked about his plans for Mars really crazily. So he's talking about cargo missions to Mars, sending cargo by 2020. Sorry, 2022.
Yep.
That's 8 years away.
That's scary, isn't it?
That's so close. That is not far at all.
But then
7 years, sorry.
How long does it take to reach Mars, roughly? So launching in 8 years, before we see any sort of effects of this, it'll be
Well,
does it take 8 years to get to Mars?
Is it years? I thought it was months.
I thought it was years.
But okay, something we'll have to look up.
My only exposure.
Something we encourage our listeners to look
into.
You know, we don't have all the answers.
Most of my knowledge on this comes from The Martian with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
I'll be brutally honest.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but Elon Musk wants to build a giant battery for the state of South Australia.
Yeah, we had a big blackout of sort of this time last year, a little bit. Just over a year ago.
Can I interrupt you? By big blackout, for anyone that's not from Australia, our entire state of roughly 1.5 million people, our entire state had no power. We had no electricity, and I don't mean for a little bit of time. I mean
some places was days.
Yeah, it was days for some places. For the rest of us, it was about 6 hours. It was ridiculous, and every one of us looked at ourselves and just went, "Hang on, we're a developed nation. How does this even happen?" So he's basically come down to Adelaide.
He pitched it like over Twitter to our premier.
I love this.
And just said, "Yeah, well, I can come fix the problem. I'll do it in 100 days, or
it's free. Bring it on. I say we've got nothing to lose.
Why
here.
not?
We either get it for free or we get something
a wicked system.
Maybe something we do need.
Yeah, and we can be the envy of all the other stuff, probably other nations of the world. You know?
Until it turns out it doesn't work, which is also likely.
Well, you know what? Elon Musk, he's a very eccentric, outlandish man. He's a crazy man. Well, he's very passionate.
He's crazy, but because he's rich, we call him eccentric.
Yeah,
that's the definition.
He's driven. He's got a lot of vision, but whether that vision is always grounded in reality is debatable, I think.
Well, who knows? We'll see.
Back to the Mars thing. So
yes.
So the cargo missions, he's talking 2022. Manned missions by 2024 is what he's talking. Manned missions to Mars. That's how soon he's thinking they're going to get going.
I've only just noticed this looking at the run sheet here. 2022, they launch all the stuff for the mission.
Yeah.
2024, they launch people.
Yep.
That's not a big gap
No.
if something goes wrong. If they've launched the cargo and then...
That's why I'm thinking it's got to be months. I think it's like 8 months. You said 8 years. Maybe it's 8 months
to
get to Mars.
I'm not sure. Okay, 8 months
It's still a reasonable amount of time to be traveling. Because what is it, like 10 days to the moon?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm not sure.
It's days to the moon, so...
Depends if you've got to stop for fuel as well. And if you start getting tired...
You need to get a sandwich, get a Chico roll.
We
Farmers Union iced coffee.
We really do endorse pull over. Take a nap.
Every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours, that's right. Yeah.
That's the rule. So, you don't want to get fatigue in space. Drift off into an asteroid.
Do you want to explain what Chico roll is? Well, no. Moving on.
Delicious.
It's a delicious deep fried snack that we have in Australia.
But not only is this technology that he's talking about to get us to Mars, not only is it to get to Mars, he wants to use it to apply it to long distance trips on Earth. So,
is he confused? Does he know that we can do long distance trips on Earth already?
So the system he's developed, this system's going to get us to Mars, and he wants to use it on Earth as well. It's called the BFR. So the BFR stands for Big Rocket.
What does the F stand for, though, James?
Big
rocket.
Effing rocket. Okay, that's what he's going for. Is the BFR system? I'm not kidding. BFR system. Look it up. Look up BFR.
This guy's not eccentric anymore. He's dangerous.
He's talking like Sydney to London in less than an hour. Pretty much. So
what? That's the other side of the world.
It's talking most long distance trips in less than 30 minutes anywhere on Earth in under an hour is what he's talking.
This is crazy.
Yeah. So pretty much you go up into the sort of atmosphere, upper atmosphere, I guess.
Yep.
Come back down and you're in another city on the other side of the world.
I like this because if it's under half an hour, then there's no need to pull over.
No, exactly.
There's no need to stop and get a coffee, get out, stretch your legs.
Every 2 hours.
Because you can't get out and stretch your legs when you're up in the lower atmosphere, James.
Yeah.
Can't go for a little walk.
You're probably pressed up against your seat.
Probably. That's
because he did. He did tweet. This thing travels up to speeds of close to 27,000 kilometers an hour. As you can imagine, this thing gets you from Sydney to London
even better
in less than an hour, like 39 minutes.
What if you overshoot?
We missed the truck.
Then
We're not aiming for the truck.
It's falling with style. If you overshoot, then you've got to wait for the next roundabout.
Yeah. Well, if you overshoot, you're just going to go around again. It's going to take you 2 hours. So
then you'll definitely have to get out.
It's still a good
definitely have to stretch your legs and revive and survive.
But he tweeted, because this is obviously somebody raised this point. Like, you're going pretty fast. He said, passengers. This is not a direct quote, but pretty much he said the passengers are going to experience between 2 and 3 Gs of force.
That's big.
Sort of taking off. But he said overall the trip's it's going to be rather smooth. It's not going to be unpleasant. But still, the 2 or 3 Gs of force. So astronauts have come up and said, you know what, like, that's pretty intense. A lot of people are not going to like it. They're going to be sick.
Yeah.
Actually, I imagine myself as, there are people now probably that saw the rise of commercial airlines and just thought, ooh, nah, people aren't made to fly. Like, I'm not going on one of those death traps.
Absolutely.
I think I'm going to be like this with the BFR. Like, I'm just going to be like,
yeah.
Better not. Like, that's risky. We shouldn't be doing that.
When I fly, and it's to the point now where my partner knows this, whenever we fly, she grabs my hand right before we land.
Okay.
I can't stand landing. There's something about the finality of just... What happened? We hit the ground. What? At speed? Well, yeah. We're going to die. And then the braking sensation. And in my head, it's every scene in every movie where the plane lands without enough runway. So all in front of me, in my mind's eye, in front of the plane, there's the terminal building. And we have to stop before we hit it. And this time we're not stopping on time. It's just...
Reminds me of that great George Carlin sketch. I don't know if you've heard it, but pretty much, why do they use the word terminal in anything associated with air travel? But Elon Musk had some really cool ideas that he's pitched in Adelaide, so that's really exciting. We could talk for hours about the new technology that's being developed just every day. It's just staggering.
And we intend to.
Oh, yes. Buckle up, because this is hour 1 of emerging technology.
I hope you've got a trip to the moon coming up.
Just really quick, like thinking back, like if you showed somebody 20 years ago the phone in your pocket, they'd just be astounded. It's insane.
It's incorrect to call what we carry around now phones.
Yeah.
Really,
it's a computer.
It's a computer with a phone app on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a computer with an app on it that lets your mother bother you at inopportune times during the day. That's really what it is.
Anywhere you are.
Anywhere you are.
You could be out and about, and
That's right.
now she can still get a hold of you.
I love my mum, and I hope she's not listening. Maybe I hope she's listening. I don't know. But it's just every now and then I'll just be doing something. My phone buzzes, my computer buzzes. I have to find it wherever it is, pull it out, and it's a very simple 3-word text from Mum. How are you? And I reply with, I'm good. How are you, Mum? And then nothing. And I go, what a waste of amazing technology that I just get to confirm to my mum that I'm still alive every now and then. Back to Facebook.
Well, on that note, shall we dive in?
Let's
talk more specifically about some of the stuff that we are, I guess, intrigued by, interested in developing technologies, emerging technologies.
Isn't it interesting too that you and I have both chosen something transport related?
Yeah, I find that. I think it's some of the most exciting stuff. Is how we're talking about Elon Musk and how we're going to get around the world in less than an hour.
Absolutely.
So, what is your topic, Damon?
Well, my topic, James, is self-driving cars. I've said self-driving cars. Really, it should be self-driving vehicles.
Yeah.
But the immediate first product we should get from this is self-driving cars. So I've got a very simple question for you, James.
Okay.
Which I'm going to answer. Unless we want to ask Siri. No, we haven't got that sort of time. Simple question. Are self-driving cars the way of the future? Simple answer. Yes.
Wave of the future.
You've said that to me twice tonight, and I don't get it. What's that from?
It's from The Simpsons.
Of course it is. I don't. Ploughing on. By the year 2030, it is estimated that 1 in 4 cars on the road will be self-driving.
1 in 4?
1 in 4. By 2030.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We'll be on Mars by then.
At least all of our stuff will be on Mars, and hopefully the astronauts make it.
Just quickly on that. I just picturing somebody getting to my... Honey, did you pack my brown pants? They're my dress pants. Honey, they're not here, are they?
I'm not going through.
I'm not going back.
We're not going back. No, you're just going to have to deal with your plain black pants. Okay, so I was hoping you would say that sounds too soon, because now it doesn't keep with my script. That might sound alarmingly fast. However...
Wow, I'm alarmed at how fast that's occurring.
However, self-driving technology already exists at various stages. In fact, projects for self-driving technology has existed for decades. When do you think?
What?
Yeah. How long ago would you say self-driving cars were being made and tested?
I would be thinking anything that I would call a self-driving car wouldn't have been earlier than the mid to late 2000s.
Interesting. The first ideas for it were around in the 50s. There's fantastically kitsch footage you can watch of. It looks like
Is it like on a railing system or something? Or
interestingly enough, they thought it would be electric currents. So in Jurassic Park. It runs on the electric roadway.
Yeah.
They thought it would be like that.
That's okay. That's what I.
Miles of copper cable underneath the road, and the car would electromagnetically follow that somehow.
Yeah, okay.
That's not really self-driving though. That's a monorail system. But 1995.
Okay. Wow. That's Okay.
I know that's 22
years ago.
22 years ago, but that's still closer than
I'm thinking. Yeah, because I'm thinking it shouldn't really. I would think more in the last 10 to 15 years at most.
You would think so, but in 1995, and I'm really sorry, listeners, if you can find the actual name of the car, please let me know. I've got it down here as NatLav. I got this information from a video, and I couldn't understand what the guy was saying, but I believe it was NatLav. Drove across America. 98% of the time, it drove completely automatically.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, in 1995. That was shocking to me when I heard that. I was with you. I thought 2000s.
Yep.
But yeah, no surprise here. The original technology, military use.
Yeah, okay.
Immediately.
Yep.
As so much of our great stuff comes. There are actually 4 levels of automation. Level 1, automatic parts that work separately to the whole of the car. So automatic braking, automatic steering, automatic acceleration. We have all of those things now. There are already cars that can sense danger and brake for you.
Yes.
I call them backseat drivers.
Is that when your girlfriend squeezes your shoulder and your arm? Just slow down a little bit.
We had that recently. We drove up to the hills a little while ago, and I'm making a corner, and I thought I made the corner perfectly. You know when you hit that line and you just kiss the apex? And
had you been watching Fast and Furious,
Top Gear,
Tokyo Drift? I can do that.
I can do that.
I can be like little Bow Wow.
Absolutely. And I'm going around the corner sideways, and she nearly drew blood on my knee, just squeezing me. I don't like the way you don't brake before you hit the corner. I do brake. You've got to keep the car moving anyway. Automatic brakes, acceleration, steering, automatic, that's level 1. At level 2, several functions happen at the same time. An example of which is when an automatic parking or automatic lane changes. So you've seen cars that can parallel park themselves.
Thank God.
I know.
No, I don't even bother.
A step-by-step guide on how to reverse parallel park. Step 1, find a new car park.
Go somewhere else.
Step 2, repeat. I can't do it. An example of 3, all car functions happen automatically, but the driver is still required. So a car can easily drive, a car can sense oncoming danger, a car can slow down, and you can just have your hands free, but there might be times you need to intervene. So if you're coming off of a freeway, for example, the car might not judge the curve accurately.
Okay.
So maybe you need to grab the wheel, get it off the freeway, get it back onto a straight road, and it takes over from there.
Well, that seems really inconvenient.
Doesn't it? I mean...
there are a lot of roads that curve.
It's at the frustrating...
As long as you're going straight.
That's right. It's that frustrating intermediary point where it's like, what is the point?
Yeah.
It can do most things.
Until you need it to do
most
the other things.
You just need to do the rest.
Yeah.
Define the rest. Like, how much am I driving and how much is this self-driving? Level 4 is full-blown, no driver required.
Yes.
Where do you think we're currently at?
They've reached level 4, surely.
We're at level 3 at the moment.
They haven't had any?
No.
So the ones that Google developed, they still had people behind sitting in the cars.
Yep. Ready to grab the wheel if need be.
Okay.
We're frustratingly close to
Because I thought
level
those
4.
things crashed.
Do you know what? I actually rather sick searched for self-driving cars crashing. Couldn't find any.
No, because I heard some of the Google self-driving cars crashed. So I find that odd that if somebody was behind the wheel that happened.
Maybe it's because they
got really complacent.
They were trying to impress their mates.
Yeah.
No hands and no eyes. Look, I've covered my eyes with a blindfold. Car's doing it all for me.
And now we're taking a corner which the car can't do.
In hindsight, that's a pretty big oversight. So the best examples we have are between level 2 and 3.
Okay. Yes.
There's very rare prototypes that exist that are nudging close to 4, but let's say you wouldn't take them out onto a busy highway in LA. Actually, it'll do very well on the highway in LA because it's straight line.
And not going anywhere.
And
it stays perfectly still.
Is that a comment on LA or
a comment on LA traffic? Oh, I could go on. No, I'm not going to. I could go on about my time in LA traffic.
You'll get a chance for that because I do talk about the time we spend in commuting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'll get to that.
All right, we'll get back to
that. And most of them work on pre-programmed routes is the other thing too. So who are developing these cars? We've already mentioned Google. And it sounds a bit strange. Like, Google don't make cars. That's not what they're known for. They're just everywhere.
They are Skynet.
Are they in the room right now?
Yeah.
We've got two.
What's this microphone doing in front of me? Oh, wait, I put that there. My bad.
There's 2 laptops and an iPhone sitting on this table in front of me right now. I'm very nervous. The other companies making them are Ford, General Motors, Nissan, Toyota, Mercedes-Benz. They're all locked in a bit of an arms race right now.
Excellent.
Google...
good bit of competition always helps the innovation.
It really does, and it drives the price down inevitably too.
Yeah.
So competition's a very good thing here. Google and Tesla we talked about. There's a third party here that you might not expect. Do you want to have a ping at who it might be?
Like, is it really left field? Like,
it's a little bit left field. It makes sense in the sense that they have a vested interest in cars.
Okay.
What if I said I've got an app for it on my phone? Like Uber,
okay.
Uber.
All right, no, that makes sense now.
Yeah. Doesn't it? Yeah.
All right.
It's one of those where you read it and you think, Uber are making a self-driving car. Oh, hang on. That's legit their business model.
Yeah.
Cars that come and pick you up for cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
It makes perfect sense. They're already trialing self-driving taxis in Pittsburgh, and they plan on launching their joint effort with Volvo. That's my problem with this. I have nothing against Volvo as a car company, but Volvo does come with a certain connotation for who drives a Volvo.
Well, nobody anymore after this.
Clearly not. That's
literally the computer.
So Volvo and Uber are working on this. They plan on launching in San Francisco very soon. There will be an overlap of time in which self and human-driven cars share the road.
Of course, yeah.
That's unavoidable. Yeah. While self-driving cars for private ownership will remain expensive, it makes sense for a private taxi service to operate a fleet of vehicles, which is cheap for them to run. No driver, less crashes, lower insurance costs. These are all the perceived benefits from Uber. You don't have to pay anyone to sit in the driver's seat. That's a first cost.
Yeah.
No matter how expensive the car is, that initial thing that's one-off cost.
Yeah.
Whereas paying a driver is a continuous cost. Progress has been made in Germany with Audi being the first company to drive a self-driving car. That's an oxymoron. Why did I write that? They didn't drive it. The car drove itself over 200 miles per hour. First to do it. That's a big breakthrough.
Yeah, okay, yes, yeah.
Because all of a sudden your handling, your braking, reaction times, everything changes when you go that fast. In fact, Germany have made it a manufacturing imperative to develop self-driving technology. It's a national interest as far as they're concerned.
Yeah, fair enough.
Google are leaping ahead with their Google X project. So Google's got Google X, which is scary in and of itself. It's just their secret Tony Stark wing of the industry where they build who knows what, frankly. It's Google X. We know about Waymo, which sounds like an Aussie nickname. Going down the pub with Waymo, which is a modified Lexus that uses laser-guided technology. So most of these cars use cameras, some use radar, some use a mix of technologies. This one uses lasers to map its environment. The lasers can see pretty far ahead. They can see movement up to 200 meters ahead, which means they can predict cars changing lanes. But then I thought about it, and really 200 meters isn't actually... Is that as far as a human eye can see?
You can see further than that, but I guess it depends on the road conditions, really.
Yeah, so you'd have to argue that it's comparable to what human can predict.
200 meters is probably roughly as far as you'd be looking forward for any sort of dangers when you're driving.
I would have thought
you wouldn't be looking further ahead, and you'd find it difficult to distinguish things.
Yeah, it's physically impossible.
You could see further ahead, you just couldn't distinguish specifically what you're looking at.
Exactly right, yeah. The real big question with this is why. Why are self-driving cars a good thing? Which is what I'm trying to argue, by the way. I'm trying to prove to you that they're a good thing. The benefits to having streets filled with self-driving cars are numerous, and some are rather surprising and far-reaching. Firstly, it removes the risk of driver error. According to Jerome Carslake... Oh no, what a name. He's involved in cars, James.
You always bring the best names to the show.
It was either going to be cars or wetlands this guy was into. Couldn't have been both. Jerome Carslake. According to Mr. Carslake, who is the manager of the National Road Safety Partnership Program, or NRSPP.
Brilliant.
I'm pretty sure the actual words are easier
It's
to say
easier
than
to
that,
say,
yeah.
the name.
The most common cause of road fatalities and car accidents. Hang on, what? What have I written?
I don't know, jeez.
What have I written? The most common forms of injury on our roads are all human error related.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so fatigue, people not getting out, stretching their legs.
Every 2 hours.
Every 2 hours. Go, just get a bottle of water and an apple.
Yeah.
That's all you
The
need.
Chico Roll.
Chico Roll.
I recommend it. If you haven't had one already, do it.
If you're driving, listening to this podcast, pull over right now and find yourself a Chico
Grab
Roll.
a Chico Roll. I think that's the slogan.
By next week, we want a sponsorship from Chico Roll. Fatigue, speed, distraction, something you and I are very used to. Including mobile phones. Mobile phones are becoming...
It really is a big problem.
It's a huge problem, and it's something that drives me a little bit nuts.
We're so connected, and now you're driving around, and you decide to look at your phone and read that message that says from your mum, how are you? And then you crash. It's like, well, we didn't have this problem 10 years ago. Your mum couldn't text you.
And then I can...
15. We've had phones for a while now.
We've had phones for a while. Texting.
I'm just seeing your eyes just light up, just doing the math, just going... Oh my gosh, we've had phones for how long?
How long have I been able to text people? But yeah, you're right. I crash the car and then I can reply to my mother, how am I doing?
Not well.
Not well, mum. And drugs and alcohol is the other big contributing factor, which there's nothing funny there. I mean, there's nothing funny in any sort of car crash, but we can sort of laugh derisively at the fact that we're looking at our goddamn phones when we should
can't
be driving.
turn it off for 2 seconds.
Just turn it off for 2 seconds. There's nothing funny about getting in your car pissed.
No, don't do it.
Just don't do it. Computers don't get tired. They're programmed not to... running capacity. They're programmed not to speed. They don't get distracted, and they certainly don't do drugs. They can get a virus, I suppose, but they don't do drugs. So it's safer. It makes more sense from a lifestyle point of view as well.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I'm getting to the amount of time we spend in traffic. It's astounding. In Australia alone, so this isn't even looking at American figures, time spent commuting in a week equates on average to about 3 hours. That's across all major capital cities.
Okay.
Sydney, our largest city. Do you want to have a guess how long people spend commuting a week?
Per week?
Mm-hmm.
One person in the total week would probably, 10 hours in a week?
Half that, 5.
5, okay.
But you think 5 hours out of your total week is just driving to and from work.
Yeah, which isn't, that's not really that bad. It's per day, that's half an hour there, half hour back. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. But then that's at least doubled in even bigger cities like LA.
Well, I thought it would have, because that's just over what I would do.
Sure.
So I would have thought it'd be a lot higher in Sydney, to be honest.
But what would you do in that time if you didn't have to drive the car?
Driven, motivated people would probably do some more work.
I know I would use that time to sleep.
You know what? I would listen to podcasts.
And really, that's what we should all do. Actually, I would go one step further. I wouldn't listen to a podcast. I would be texting everybody safely, encouraging them to listen to a cool new podcast that I knew about, you see? Yeah.
Excellent.
But don't do that when you're driving.
We should record one of these in a car driving around, but not us driving. Just throwing that out there.
If we can get our hands on a self-driving car... that'd be amazing. But it could be spent doing something productive.
Yeah,
and
that's
the larger cities where roads are getting more and more congested, more and more clogged up, people have to spend more and more time driving. People are living further and further out from major cities.
Yeah, and I mean that's a big thing. Yeah, going back to the US, you were saying like other cities internationally, people live like 2 or 3 hours outside of the major cities and commute to work because the housing is cheaper out there, like significantly cheaper to be further away.
Yeah.
That's a 3-hour commute to work every day. You're spending 5 to 6 hours a day in traffic.
It's shocking, isn't it? It's just astounding.
Insane.
And that's assuming you work in the city, obviously, but there might even be people living in those areas that just you wouldn't even consider working in the city. You'd find something closer to home.
You would, and it wouldn't pay as well. That's why people do it ultimately.
Ultimately. Yeah.
But I mean, in LA, it's like I couldn't even fathom it because we do have it quite good here. But the idea that if you're driving around at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to get where you're going till 11 or 12. You're not going to get there till lunchtime.
That's astounding.
And you need to leave by like 3 o'clock to beat the traffic. But like 2:30, 3 o'clock.
It's mind-blowing. Considering we live in the city of Adelaide, the average per week for us is about 4.5 hours.
Okay. Yep. Yeah, my drive would be about 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Each way.
And we live in the not outer suburbs where, I mean, it's a fine suburb.
The suburbs of Adelaide, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, really, the outer suburbs of Adelaide are still nicer than the outer suburbs of most cities, I would say. We're not a big city. So that leads to greater productivity for the drivers. You know, potentially we're doing work on the road. You know, I've got my self-driving car. You ring the boss. Look, I'm sorry, I won't be able to make it in. Traffic's a disaster. Good thing Uber's getting me in, so I'll be working on my laptop until I get there.
Yep.
You know, I'll make a few business calls or something.
You can Skype me.
You can Skype me. I'll just be in the car,
yeah.
But I'll get there eventually. You know, productivity increases. Productivity for deliveries increases. You think self-driving trucks, vans, those sort of service vehicles, they get better, cheaper to run.
If they're self-driving, they could be driving overnight, like through the night.
They don't need to pull over and get a Chico roll.
No.
Trucks don't need Chico rolls. They can just keep going.
But we should offer once in a while. Otherwise, they might take over. And you didn't share your Chico roll. Didn't even offer.
If only we knew. All it took was a bad, battered. What even is in a Chico roll?
Don't ask.
We don't go into that.
Ignorance is bliss.
In this case, definitely. So a service like Uber, it makes perfect sense. You can imagine mum and dad getting in their cars in the morning that they've literally dialed to their house or pre-programmed to come and pick them up at a certain time. They get in their Uber cars. Kids get in a self-driving bus to get to school. There's no need to own 3 big SUV people mover cars for that household anymore.
Okay.
You know, so that makes the household cheaper. Less CO2 being poured out into the atmosphere. Less cars clogging up driveways.
Well, do you think that it would lead to people getting rid of their cars and, like you're saying, going to like an Uber type service, a car subscription type thing? Or do you think I would still foresee it as people would still be owning cars, they'd just be self-driving cars?
Quite possibly. They definitely will not be cheap to start with.
No.
So services like Uber will be able to afford a fleet of cars, which will pay themselves off much sooner than we'll be able to afford our own.
Yeah, okay.
But you are right. Like, if we're talking 100 years into the future, the idea of driving as a necessary skill will be obsolete.
Yes.
If we continue
so I would say people are probably still going to be owning these cars, and they may have, like you said, 2 or 3 of them in their household.
Oh, quite possibly. Yeah. The other advantage too, and this might come out of a little bit of left field here, but the immediate fear that I think we have, apart from the industry loss, apart from those people who drive cars for a living, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, truck drivers, delivery people, you know, my thoughts go to those people. You were mentioning before about technology overtaking jobs, the whole Luddite movement. People used to run around smashing up farmyard machinery because it was taking away the jobs of people who threshed and cut wheat by hand. You know, those people were made obsolete. However, there's also an old saying about the car saving the horse. Have you heard this? They reckon the car saved the horse in the sense that horses were used to. We rode horses, they pulled carts, they did all of our heavy lifting and manual labour. Horses died at very early ages because the amount of work we put them through. Unscrupulous breeders were pumping them out like in farms, like modern day puppy mills, you know, horses being born 1,000,000 times a minute. The invention of the car kind of saved the horse as a leisure pursuit. So automated cars might go the same way. You know, you own an internal combustion car that you drive and you take it out purely on the weekends. And all of a sudden, then everyone gets to own a fantastic Mercedes or something. You know, there's no market anymore for a Kia Micra.
Okay.
Or for something garbage like that. So, you know, there's ups and downs to this, but ultimately you've got to think you can't stop progress. This is coming, whether we want it to or not. Secondly, the advantages to this are huge. I mean, in terms of less cars on the road, so CO2 emissions, less idiots getting behind the wheel and crashing.
That is a big factor. And I think, the biggest issue is that people are the cause, like you said, of crashes. Yep. If we get to a point where it's all self-driving cars, they're going to talk to each other. We're not going to have crashes at all.
No.
These things are going to say, oh, hey, I'm here, like, move over. It's going to be optimized. And not only is it going to be safe, it's going to be optimized, and you're going to be on the fastest possible path to get to where you're going because the computer's going to do that for you.
Absolutely.
And,
that does bring up some moral and ethical issues about crashing.
Whether it's the manufacturer's fault. But the idea is that it'd be so very minimal.
You'd hope so.
Yes.
Yeah, because if my car drives into another car, whose fault is it? Ultimately, it's Steve, the programmer, unfortunately. But that's not coming until 2040, 2050. We've got time to iron out those legal issues.
Yes.
James, have I convinced you that self-driving cars are definitely the way of the future?
Yes, you've convinced me. I mean, I'm excited about this technology
I'm very excited because last week it was a firm no from you. This week I'm back on the winner board.
He's put that little chalk that
little
up.
Notch there, that's two now.
No, I think it's very exciting technology. I think it is unavoidable. I mean, unless Mr. Musk comes in and just gives us this really cheap international travel in seconds. But great benefits, like you said. It's going to be increased productivity. We're going to get to where we're going faster. It's much safer. You're going to be able to take family road trips instead of catching a flight. You're just going to all pile into a car overnight. The car's going to drive itself.
The novelty factor will be there too for actually getting in your car and driving it. Yeah. That'll be a specialized skill. There'll be a huge novelty factor. Driving holidays with your family might not be torture anymore. You might actually beg your parents to get in the car with you and drive you somewhere long distance. I couldn't imagine doing that when I was a kid. Great.
But I am convinced. I think this is going to be very exciting. But you know what? Probably running out of time here. I'm going to just plow right into my subject. Obviously, we're very excited. Emerging technologies are exciting, so we could ramble on for ages. But let's press on. I am talking to you about the idea of solar panel roadways.
I'm very excited by this.
Yes. Okay. So the idea is that we replace roads with solar panels. Catch the sun's energy. The sun's there. We've got plenty of the sun. It's not going anywhere. So we're going to capture that energy and use it. We need power and we need a push to green energy. And I think that I've already, before I even get into this, I think I've got you convinced. I was going to say anything that's green, you're just going to be like, yep.
Are you done? Because that was it. You've done that so succinctly.
So
I know you do have more.
I do. I have plenty more. There's a few sort of projects with this idea sort of in mind. In the Netherlands, I think this is the earliest sort of instance of solar panels in sort of a pathway. It's a bike path. It's called Solar Road, SOLAROAD. So it could be Solar Road or Solar Ode.
I'm sure that's something out of Pokemon. Yeah. Surely that's in one of the poker games.
There's too many of them now. It has to be, right? It's called Solar Road. It's a 72-meter long bike path that opened in October 2014, so almost 3 years ago now. It's obviously a trial thing that they've put together to test the feasibility of these sort of smart solar roads. It's a 3-year trial, so I guess we're approaching the end of that trial, so it'll be interesting to see what the study comes up with, what they determined.
I'll have to look at that.
The thing cost 3.5 million euro.
Oh, but you've got to think in terms of what you save.
So in the first month, they said that the path generated enough energy to sustain one family. That's not really a whole lot of energy for 3.5 million euro. But, I mean, I don't know what that entails. That could have involved the research and development of this. It could be more than just actually the implementation, the installation of this. So, obviously, it's an investment in getting this technology to a point where it's going to be rolled out on a larger market.
How much did you say it was, sorry?
3.5 million euro for the 72 meters of bike path.
That's a lot of Chico rolls you can get for that money.
We're not going to let that go out.
No.
There's another one in France. I could try to say the place.
No, please do.
Tourouvre. It's in France. It is a solar panel road, so it's actually a road you could drive on. It's called Wattway, W-A-T-T.
Oh, clever.
Wattway.
Clever.
This opened actually just 22nd of December last year, so fairly recent. Okay. Different to the solar road and the next one I'm going to get into. The Wattway is just solar panels laid on top of existing pavement. So the idea there is they haven't had to rip up and replace whole roads. They've worked with the existing infrastructure.
Well, that's automatically cheaper.
Yes.
It's easier to lay something down than it is to rip something up.
Yeah. So this was 1 kilometer. It is a 1 kilometer stretch of road, and they say it's generating enough power to run the town streetlights. So that's pretty successful. I'd say.
That sort of pays for itself.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how big the town is. But one streetlight. No.
14 people.
I mean, that does sound sort of promising. And I guess it's a good thing if this power it would have had to come from somewhere. So now it's coming from the road to generate these streetlights. So that's always a plus.
Okay. Yep.
The big one, I think the one that everybody would probably be aware of, the company is called Solar Roadways.
Bad name. Too obvious.
Could have been. That's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
It is.
This was started by Scott and Julie Broussard in 2006. They are headquartered in Sandpoint, Idaho. And a lot of people might have seen this YouTube video that sort of promoted this company and got this idea. I think they're the ones that really got the idea of solar panel roadways to a mass audience with this particular YouTube video that went viral. And there's just the guy screaming at you, solar freaking roadways.
I've not seen
You have to go and watch this video. If I don't sell you on it, we can link it. Yeah, we'll link the video.
Yep.
If I don't sell you on this video, probably will. They had an Indiegogo campaign about 2 or 3 years ago, and they raised over $2 million just through that.
Great.
I mean, it's great. It's exciting technology. So the idea is they've got these modular hexagonal solar panels coated with tempered glass, which has been tested to meet your impact, your load, traction requirements. So it's not just flat glass. You'd obviously slip on that. So they've made it. It's got traction. You're going to stay on the road.
Good.
You can get your heavy vehicles on there as need
I hadn't even considered the idea of driving on glass. I did think about, I might break it with a heavy vehicle, but I never thought about driving on a slick roadway. Yeah.
It's got microprocessors inbuilt, so these panels can communicate with each other. Obviously, that's a great benefit. Like we're saying, everything's connected. Everything in the world is just more and more connected.
Your fridge is connected to your toaster, which is connected to this road in Idaho.
It's connected to your roadway.
Which is connected to my self-driving car. Yeah.
They've got inbuilt LEDs. This is a really cool part of this. So these LED lights can be programmed and set in various configurations. So you can put your lanes up on the road. The LED lights, you can set up parking lots, warning signs, even like sports court layout. So you could go to a recreation park, and instead of a big slab of concrete, it's these solar panels.
Fantastic.
You flick from a basketball court to a netball court to tennis at the flick of a button.
That is awesome.
You've got the lines there with the LED lights.
I love that. Yeah.
Obviously, depending on traffic, you can change the flow, the amount of lanes going in a particular direction. In the video, they show, for a parking lot, they show a handicap place gets taken. Mm-hmm. So in an empty slot, the roadway creates another handicap spot.
Wow.
So it fills up and goes, well, we need to make sure we allow for another person. If another person shows up,
great.
Comes up
I hope it also comes up with a little arrow and a little speech bubble pops up that's pointing to the car parked in the handicap zone that says something along the lines of, hey, everyone, this guy's a jerk.
He's not supposed to be parked
This guy's not supposed to be parked here. Give him a fine, please. ...
It probably just sends that to the council automatically and just send the fines already emailed to him.
I'll be honest, that's far more efficient.
Yeah. We have the technology. And obviously with the LED lights, that's improved visibility driving at night. The road's going to be lit up in front of you on the road. So you're going to, it's going to be great.
Much better.
The amount of times that you're driving and it's dark and you can barely even see the lines on the road in front of you.
There are a few areas around us that it's really, really bad for that. Absolutely.
And you don't even know. And sometimes when they've repainted, you can't even tell if you're looking at the repainted lines or the new. Yeah, it's.
I drove on one recently where they literally just scribbled over the existing line with spray paint. That doesn't mean anything.
Was it you or was it graffiti artists?
That's right. I don't know what to stick to.
They are pressure sensitive, these panels, so they know when there's large debris, such as branches that have fallen on the road, animals crossing, and they're talking to each other. So these panels can warn you ahead of time that there's an obstruction or danger up ahead.
I was wondering, when you said they can communicate, I couldn't see a benefit.
So yeah, you've got something crossing the road in Australia. It's going to be a kangaroo hopping across the road, and you're driving along, and so the road can tell through the pressure sensitive panels, and it's going to come up. You're going to get like a little warning sign like you would at a school crossing or whatever, written on the road saying slow down, something
kangaroo
ahead.
Yep.
Well, it's probably not going to know specifically that it's kangaroo, but it's going to say something ahead, slow down.
Why did the kangaroo cross the road? To get a Chico roll.
Oh, it's never going to end. I'm really sorry. I apologize that I started that.
Mate. Keep going.
So obviously, massive benefits of this because they're modular. They can be replaced panel by panel at a time. So you can take out a single panel because it's faulty, put in a new panel, and I assume you could just repair that faulty one and put it back in somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a great benefit. Like unlike traditional roads, where you would be paving over, you'd replace a whole section, repave a whole section when there's cracks.
And that takes weeks.
Or potholes, if they ever get around to it. So really simple to repair. Some of the energy that they're creating. So these can be used to keep the surface temperature of the panels a few degrees above freezing. Not really an issue for us in Australia.
No, but
anywhere
in some places. I've been in a bus, a little tourist bus in Tasmania.
Yeah, okay.
Driving to Cradle Mountain, beautiful spot. And my driver warned me. I was the only one in the bus at the time. He warned me. He says, "I don't know if you've driven on ice before, mate, but we're about to." Okay, what's involved here? And he says, "You holding on."
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So obviously, so that means that the roads aren't going to freeze over, which is a great benefit to, in those places where there's snowfall.
Yep.
The company is working to utilize as much recycled material as possible in manufacturing of these panels, so that's always great. They've designed it to incorporate 2 channels either side of the roadways. So one's going to be for your electrical cables, internet cables. It's removing the overhead power lines, which aesthetically is going to be great. Safety-wise is going to be great. These things aren't in danger of falling over or getting damaged during storms.
Yep.
And the other channels are there to capture storm water or melted snow. And can be taken off to be treated and reused, which is great.
Yeah.
The theory is the calculations. I only have American figures. I wish I had some Australian numbers, but if it give you a good indication here, if all the roads in America were converted to solar panels, they'd be generating 3 times as much energy as they currently consume. I mean, let's just code everything in solar panels.
Why not? I can't work out why we don't anyway.
So back to Mr. Musk, Elon Musk. Tesla company has developed solar roof. These are a series of tiles. They look incredible. They look like tiles. They look better than real tiles. Yep. And generally, as far as I understand, cheaper than the average price of tiles per square meter. Why would you not?
Well, this is what baffles me. I don't get why I know there's an initial cost outlay and then maybe they're not as efficient as they can be and and everyone goes, what if it's a cloudy day? They still get something.
Yeah.
And they still and it's one of those things for the greater benefits you get out of it. It's worth whatever small costs you give.
I think so. Long term. What we're looking at.
Absolutely.
I'd like to be upfront with you because I want to give you the full picture. It's easy to just give you a sales pitch, give you all the pros. But you know what? I'm gonna talk about some of the critiques and some of the issues.
No. I was already convinced. What are you doing?
So Solar Roadways, they installed a roadway in Sandpoint, Idaho, which is where they're based. This opened to the public this time last year, at the end of September 2016. It was just a section of footpath. It wasn't actually a road you could drive on, unfortunately, but people could walk on it, which one of the implementations they're talking about. A lot of the panels died within a week. They had to be replaced. This thing shut down for like 3 months. Then when it reopened, it ended up catching on fire.
How did it catch on fire?
These things get really hot. These panels get incredibly hot. So the LEDs inside them, they're not particularly bright. So they actually, during the daytime, they just would not work for line markings, unfortunately.
That makes sense.
But you know what? This doesn't mean we couldn't just paint on the lines like normal.
Yeah.
You know what? Are lanes even going to be necessary in a world of
self-driving cars? Oh, you brought me back in.
Yes.
I was out, but now I'm right back in.
A lot of the energy converted would be consumed by the LEDs. Again, let's scrap the LEDs.
I was wondering about that. What's the point of having... I mean, it generates its own power, great, but if there's no greater benefit, then, it's lit up kind of.
Well, I mean, it would generate its own power that could be utilized elsewhere, but some of that power would still have to be used for the LEDs.
Yeah, get rid of the LEDs.
You might as well just not do that.
Get rid of them.
And the company, they haven't been very open about how much electricity these panels are actually generating.
Which means it generates none.
Pretty much. And like I said, so these LEDs are running, it obviously gets heated. The surface temperature is hot, but these things get really, really hot.
To the point where they just catch on fire.
They overheat, which is a massive issue, especially, if they're going to be footpaths.
Yes.
Walking pets. You don't want to... It's not... You're laughing, but, it's not ideal for a surface that you might walk your dog on.
No, it's not. I shouldn't laugh.
The glass surface may take a lot of wear and tear. If they sort of get scratched up, this could reduce the panel's ability to absorb sunlight. So that's a factor. I think they are working on that, though, trying to come up with something that's going to resist sort of the wear and tear.
Yep.
Unfortunately, they can't be, obviously, they're flat.
Yes.
They can't be tilted, which solar panels, ideally, for maximum efficiency in generating electricity, they need to be tilted. Like you see on a solar panel, or even when you see them out in the open in a field or something, they're tilted at about a 45-degree angle.
Yep.
And at this stage, costs are quite high for that solar road, that bike path. Estimated payback time is 50 years. And that's if the things last that long.
And meanwhile, you're doing upkeep on them. You're replacing individual panels. Okay.
But so I still think, like I said, let's scrap out the LEDs. We're going too crazy. Let's save that for somebody in 50 to 100 years' time to figure out. Yep. For now, let's just focus on the solar panels, because that's going to be the best part of this thing, is generating electricity in surfaces that aren't doing anything other than providing us a place to drive or walk. There can be double benefits here.
Yep.
It's likely to just get started, I think, with just private driveways, parking lots. So I think a lot of private buyers need to get in before it really launches mainstream and goes.
Yep.
We're talking a massive rollout to get these things to replace roads. That's going to take decades.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I think for the technology to really get developed a lot better, to improve, because there are still some kinks to be ironed out, we're going to have to get some private buyers getting in on this technology, using it for private use, driveways, parking lots. A fun thought I had, though, was wireless charging technology is becoming a big thing.
Yes.
So I'm picturing a future where we drive in our self-driving cars.
Great.
Electric cars.
Beautiful.
On our solar roadways.
Oh, I see what this is.
Being wirelessly charged at the same time.
Ooh.
What a bright and beautiful future. With all those cons in mind, like I said, there's some kinks to work out. But in spite of that, Damon, do you think solar roadways, are you convinced that they could be a great option for the energy requirements we need?
I don't know. I mean, I'm convinced in the sense that, they sound perfect on paper. It's really when you dive into the minutiae of them that you realize this is... And when you said it's not going to pay for itself for another 50 years...
Well, that's one example. And like I said, it's...
And that's assuming everything goes right with them. This is the problem. Nothing ever goes right.
Yeah.
But what I do like about it, and I'll keep this very quick, in a past life, I did study environmental management.
Okay.
So this is my wheelhouse. There is a great big, there's a mentality within green energy, multifaceting. We don't just turn off all of the gas-produced power plants tomorrow and start wind farms and replace everything. It's unrealistic. Instead, you go with, imagine a pie graph of energy. Rather than 90% of that pie graph coming from one source and 10 coming from 3 sources, you want 50% of your pie chart being made up of 12 different reliable sources, and the other 50% being made up of maybe 2. So you gradually increase the amount of energy you're getting from other things. So the idea of a solar-powered roadway, like you said, that's only being used as a flat surface.
Yes.
All of a sudden, if you can get that price down and make it reliable, then it starts to pay for itself and has a double use.
So are you convinced that solar roadways are going to be utilized in the future to solve an energy issue?
Not to
generate energy.
Yes, I am. Not to solve anything, but yes, I am convinced that they could be part of a wider plan and could, like you say, if private enterprise get behind it, if the price comes down, the research goes into it. Yeah, I'm going to say a tentative yes on that.
All right.
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, cool.
Great. Good.
It's very exciting, and we're probably going a little bit over time, but it has been an exciting episode.
It has been. We've discussed a few different cool and scary things, and we've got a clearer idea of what the future looks like. And
it's bright.
Speaking of segues, James, what does the future look like for us? Have we decided what we're doing next week? Loosely?
Yes. Okay. Well, next week we are going to. We're getting into that time. It's fall in America, autumn, as we call it.
Yep.
This is the time when all the new TV shows start.
That's right.
So what we thought we'd tackle is new TV shows, premiering TV shows that you should be watching.
If you've got any suggestions for us, you can hit us up on the Twitter and Instagram pages at Are You Convinced. You can also search Are You Convinced on Facebook. We've got a page there. Let us know. Anything that you're excited coming out soon, let us know. Maybe we'll have a look at it and try to blindly sell it to the other without seeing the first episode.
But for this week, I mean, are you convinced by our arguments? Do you like the idea of self-driving cars and solar roadways?
Yeah.
What technology are you most excited for? Maybe what are you terrified by?
Yeah, I'm terrified of the idea of AI. I don't understand it enough, so I need to look into it. But maybe you're super stoked about AI. Maybe you can see all the benefits of it, and you want to let me know how it's going to revolutionize medicine, security.
So many applications.
Wiping out humanity. You know, what's it going to do for us?
It's going to be really good at that. That's a topic for another day. But please let us know what you thought. Suggest your topics. You know how to get a hold of us by now, hopefully.
Yep. Comment, like, and subscribe, please.
As always, thank you so much for listening. Please tune in next week and we'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys. See you next week.